So Bryan Kohberger's defense team have somewhat argued with the prosecution that Bryan Kohberger, their client, has no connection to the victims in the Idaho4 case. And in a recent documentary, Steve Gonzalez, one of the victims' family members, would actually go on to speak and say that he believed that Bryan Kohberger followed both Madison Mogen and K.G Gonzalez on Instagram. Now, regarding this so-called unanswered question at this point, I actually decided the other day to go back digging into the case, which is when I came across something that's called Bryan Kohberger's social mapping, which is actually a 14-page document that lists out all the people Bryan Kohberger was following on Instagram, as well as things like his affiliations on Twitter, his aliases, his AllTrail user, his Cash App user, his email address, his Reddit username, his Skype username, his Snapchat, and even his TripAdvisor. But in this document is the 1,089 Instagram users that Bryan Kohberger potentially followed. And on page 12 has two names in particular, Madison Mae Mogen and Kaylee J, meaning that if this leak is anything to go by, that the family were indeed correct. It would seem highly suspicious in the fact that someone that's just recently moved to the area and only been there for merely weeks, out of all the people and potential people he could follow on Instagram, he just so happens to follow two people that he's been put up against for murdering. And many people actually believe that both Xana and Ethan were somewhat collateral within the case, which would also give a reasoning and suggestion as to why it's just Madison Mae and Kaylee that Bryan Kohberger is following, with potential of one of these being the target, with the other two downstairs being the collateral. And just wanted to share in there that the person claiming to have no connection to these individuals whatsoever in the whole town of Idaho just so happens to be following two individuals in which he's been arrested in connection for the murder of, not to mention the fact that his cellular data has also caught this individual outside the home multiple times. The individual that's been accused of this quadruple homicide also drove his vehicle to the murder scene multiple times prior, as well as the night of the murders. He also left his DNA at the scene, which just so happened to be on the knife sheath of a K-bar in which they believe the individuals were murdered by, and just from CCTV that night, but that's just some of the minute details that we know so far. But that's it from me. Drop a like and a follow to help out the channel, but if not, then have a nice day.